Hello and welcome to Burky and Badger's Board Game Babble, a live podcast recorded on YouTube. This is episode 57, The Dream Team, with our special guest Tony Gullotti from Arcane Wonders.
It's that time again! It's the Burky and the Badger Board Game Babble Show. It's gonna get wild, it's gonna get wacky, it might even get a little zany. We're gonna talk about board games and the board game industry. And, you know, we might talk about anything else we want to talk about!
Hey! Welcome again, Babbleites, to the Burky and Badger Board Game Babble Show, and welcome to the wonderful kingdom of Babblot. I am your Honorable King Burky, and I'm the host of this elegant, wonderful YouTube show coming direct from Babblot. Now, everybody here is a board game enthusiast, right from your humble king down to the lowest sword polisher. Sword polisher? And the lowly of the slow, the host of the court jester, Sir Badger the Brave.
Oh, hello everybody. Yes, I am the court jester.
I should have read that ahead of time, I think.
You should have read it ahead of time, because I'm going to change it every time.
Oh, no.
I might put something in there which makes you put yourself down. Anyway. Hello everyone, welcome to the show. This is episode 57, where we're talking about dream teams. In this show, we will quickly talk about what we've been up to in Babblot, and then we're going to do a roundup of the rumours that have been going around in Babblot in our Things That Make Us Go section. And then we're going to interrogate our special guest prisoner, Mr. Tony Gullotti.
Hello.
Tony Gullotti.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing there, my friend?
It's good to see you guys.
We should remove the intercom from the dungeon, I think, Your Highness. So we're going to be interrogating.
Well, that's the problem. See, he's one of these guys. He's going to go on that intercom button in the dungeon cell. He's just going to be hammering it. He's mashing the whole thing. You know, hey, can I get some more water? More bread? All day long.
Okay.
Drives you nuts.
Yeah, so we're going to be interrogating him in our What Game Is Behind the Door section before going into our Babble section. We're going to be babbling not about storytelling. I forgot to change that part of the script. But we're going to be babbling about the dream team, who we would have working for us if we were board game publishers. Which designers would we have and why? So there we go. Without further ado, shall we introduce Mr. Intercom himself, Tony Gullotti. Welcome.
Hey. Well, thanks for having me again. No, I really appreciate you taking the time to invite me onto your show, and this is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm sure Burky has been prodding you in the back every time he's seen you and say, "Come on the show, please."
Well, it's been a lot of fun getting to know Tony. I've known Tony now. What do you say, Tony? Probably 3 years, maybe 2 years.
Yeah, probably right around 3 years now. We've been doing stuff at shows and everything.
Yeah, we've just had such a great opportunity to work with Arcane Wonders, one of our sponsors on the show, and it's just been a real pleasure being able to interact with that company, whether it's the Sheriff of Nottingham and Royals, Spoils of War, and Tony has been really instrumental in a lot of that promotion. Tell us your official title in the company, Tony.
I'm director of sales, so I handle all sales, but then I also do all the marketing, PR, advertising for the company as well.
Yeah, it's quite a job, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it never ends. And a lot of travel to all the shows and everything too, which is always a blast to see all the fans and show off the new games. And likewise, you're a designer as well, right? Yeah, I've designed a couple games on my own. Co-designed with a college buddy, Joshua Sprung. We did Yashima, Legend of the Kami Masters with Greenbrier Games, and then we've also have a couple other games that are signed in various stages now to be produced. So I'm excited.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great. Well, Barry, shall we just move right on? First off, we got to talk about what kind of things have been happening in Babblot.
Oh, yes. What things have been happening in Babblot? Well, for me...
Do you see what I did there? Do you see what I did there? I actually followed the script.
Yeah. Crowd goes wild. The king should be
Which
promoted to the right honourable, higher than high king of kingdomness.
High king, accountant, administrative person thingy.
Yes, Neo.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Tell us what's been happening in your realm.
Oh, what's been happening in my realm? Well, my part of the kingdom, you mean? Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I walked away for a while. I took a little vacation with the family because it was well needed, last minute jobby. So we unwound for the first time in a long time after all the stuff that's been happening. And I'm feeling zen. That's the word. And apart from that, just the usual kind of work, soundtracks that I'm working on, and also Kickstarters. Talking to Kickstarters, I'm going to introduce you to this little baby, which will be coming out next month, called Neta-Tanka from Le Boîte de Jeux. So be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for videos and demonstrations of how this game works and how it plays later on. Well, probably in a couple of weeks, and then obviously the Kickstarter, which starts at the beginning of May. We're in April. Yes, we are in April. May 5th. So that's what I've been up to.
What other musical projects are you working on?
Just the same two, Seventh Continent and Chronicles of Crime. So,
well, I saw a lot of your foodie pictures on your vacation, and it looked like you were eating in style, brother.
Yes, because in Brittany, that part of France, which kind of resembles England, one of their main delicacies is pancakes, or galettes as they're called. And you just basically have a pancake and you put anything you want in it. So you have like an English breakfast in a pancake. Or you'll have, bacon, eggs and chocolate sauce in a pancake. And as you saw one of those pictures, there's salmon salad. Oh, it was lovely.
Oh, that looked fantastic.
Oh, yeah, that was a crepe speciality, that. So, enjoying all the local dishes, a lot of seafood, because it's next to the sea, and I
saw that picture that you placed, though, with Aurora, and she gave you the look that my wife gives me when I take pictures of her and post them on Facebook.
Yeah. I think that was the fact that she knew that the camera was going to go off and she didn't know whether to put it in her mouth or not. She was hungry. She really wanted to dig into it. I was like, do I do it? And have one of those faces?
Yeah, my wife hates that when I post her on Facebook.
Oh, dear. Normally when you post your wife, she's always cuddling you and smiling.
Well, of course.
Oh.
That near the big racks of meat.
What's that?
Is the cuddling and everything near the big racks of meat that you have on Facebook all the time?
Well, speaking of big racks of meat, and speaking of Barry's things that have been going on, I have had the opportunity. My son-in-law, his father owns a company called Heritage Transport, and for about 4 years, I've been doing what I call Rib Fest. And Rib Fest, I make 30 racks of our Burke's Happy Mouse signature spiced smoked ribs. They're smoked with apple and cherry wood. It takes me 2 full days to make all of this. And this year, Tim, the owner of the company, he goes, Burky, I think it was the best ribs you've ever made. But he said the same thing last year. But it's so fun serving these 50 truckers. They have this safety meeting that they have to go to, a compliance meeting. They hate it. It's on a Saturday afternoon. It's like pulling teeth to get these guys there. But one of the gals, she come up to me and she says, if it wasn't for your ribs, I wouldn't come to this meeting. So they're just such a joy to serve, and they look forward to it. And you go to my Facebook page. It's on my personal page, Kevin Burkhardt-Smyer, but you'll see some pictures of the ribs and all the folks there. And that was super, super a lot of fun. And other than that, I've just been like crazy, unbelievably swamped doing fulfillment on our game toppers.
Ooh, they nearly done then, are they?
Oh, it's just been, I've been so excited. We have... this is the part that I've been waiting for. You go through so many different things to Tony, to publish a game, you're going through just an amazing amount of information that people wouldn't ever realize that you go through. But we are at that stage where we've delivered about 90 of our standard game toppers, and we're just getting ready to move into our luxuriant models that have the wood inlays, doing fulfillment on those. And we started a Facebook group called Game Topper Nation. And we have Game Toppers LLC, the Facebook page, but we also have Game Topper Nation, which is a group, and people are sharing their photos and their experiences and little tricks and tips, and it's just been a hoot. People are loving these game toppers. So I've been my heart is so full and so grateful for all my backers and so excited to see the joy, that this gaming upgrade is bringing people. So that's been really, really super cool.
Oh yeah, we love them. We've had a couple of them at our booths for a while, and now we're using them as display pieces for all the upcoming shows this year. So we can't say better things about these tapes. They're fun.
Thanks so much, Tony. Yeah, I've been so grateful that Arcane Wonders, Tony, Brian Pope, and John have been really gracious to allow us to demonstrate tables. They've actually purchased tables from us, and they've even used them for some of their ambassadors. I mean, it's just been a wonderful relationship, and with so many publishers that enjoy that upgraded presentation of their product, it just gives that overall high-quality, classy feel. So I sure appreciate that, Tony.
I can't say anything bad about them. They're awesome.
That's fantastic. So, Barry, Badger, should we move into our segment?
Things that make us go, Board game news. Burky and Badger reflect on the current events that are happening in the board game industry. Some may be good, some may be bad. But there are all things that make us go,
Well, right before we go into our segment of things that make you go, we actually have two sponsors of the show, and one is Academy Games and also Arcane Wonders that is here with us, and we're going to spend a little more time with Tony talking about some of the upcoming offerings that Arcane Wonders has in their Dice Tower Essential line and so forth. But we also, Academy Games, Uwe Eichert and Gunther have put out just some fantastic products. Their Birth of America series is such a fantastic line of games, but one of the things that you're going to see a lot of, they are restocked now on Vikings 878. Now, this is kind of a similar type of game of the 1775 and the 1812 game, but it's amazing how these different Viking characters, especially as the Viking factions come flooding into the game. The amount of variability with the expansions, the custom design playmat that they have for this game is just phenomenal. So if you haven't had a chance to check out Academy Games Vikings 878, I'd highly recommend you do that. And they also are still offering pre-orders for their Agents of Mayhem, Pride of Babylon, which is a fully 3D tactical game where the tactical 3D map actually breaks down based on different player interactions and is highly interactive. So again, thank you to our friends Academy Games, and check them out at academygames.com. Yeah, Kabuki Kid says, Vikings 878 is really fun, and she is absolutely correct. We got Ben Lunches is in the house, and Rick Ortloff is in the house, and Darth Grader's in the house. Hey, welcome, everybody.
It's not a house, it's a kingdom, so it's going to be a...
Kingdom.
Throne room?
Castle.
Throne room. They're in the throne room. There they are. Hello.
Hello, welcome to the castle, everyone.
Not in the dungeon like me? No.
Switch that intercom off, will you?
Just smashing on the intercom. So, Barry, what are some things that have been making you go,
I'll start with the one that gave me the idea for this topic. On our last show, I spoke to you in the other things that made us go, section, about an Alien game, which was going to be, was taking pre-orders by a company called Wonder Dice. Now, I don't want to go too into detail about it, but apparently they were not given the game, but they were demoed the game by the designer, and then some time went past, and they actually are now publishing a game with the same title, similar mechanics, I've been told, and no designer name. They say that they've created this whole thing in-house. Whereas all of a sudden there's been a bit of an uproar by the gaming public media here in France, saying that this is wrong due to the fact that it's like they have stolen the idea of the game and publishing it themselves without the designer. There's been a lot of back and forth between the designer and the company. There's been no kind of agreement between them either, and it's a really sad state of affairs that a game that was going to come out is probably not going to come out at all now due to the fact that there's been this kind of a breach of copyright. I wouldn't know if it is a breach of copyright or not, but for example, here in France, designers go out and they demonstrate their games at every event possible to try and get someone to publish their game. And so there is kind of a copyright there because people will know that game, it belongs to that designer, and that game, oh, they played that game with so-and-so, but it was called something else before, and now it's yay. But I don't know if that happens a lot over your side of the pond.
Well, I think this is an interesting topic, and I think Tony might be able to weigh in some here too, because oftentimes publishers they're taking in these ideas from different designers that are pitching their games. And I think what was interesting, I was listening recently to the Secret Cabal gaming podcast, good friends of mine over there, and Tony Topper was doing his news segment, talked specifically about this. And one of the things he commented was, that I guess the company's response was like, well, just because some guy on the internet says that we've stolen this doesn't make it true. But the guy that was being a big proponent that you probably know, Badger, is that it was Bruno Feduti saying, hey, this is wrong. Something's uptight here. So Bruno, being a respected designer, knew maybe a little more. And now we're kind of now in the court of public opinion here. We don't have all the facts. We don't know. So I'm not making a judgment, but what we're hearing is these kind of rumblings. And how does a budding designer protect their intellectual property in a sense? Tony, you've seen where they do the speed dating, and they pitch this idea, but what if somebody takes that idea and makes a derivative? You can't really copyright those mechanics necessarily. What are your thoughts?
Without going into like major legal type stuff, it's the thing is that we have a community of board gamers and designers and publishers, and the thing is that we as a publisher, we know all the other publishers. I mean, right. I've seen numerous, even in only the couple of years I've been in the industry in this role, I've seen numerous designs come out that I've seen that we either passed on or we got a little ways and then it just didn't end up coming to Arcane Wonders. And so the thing is that you see a lot of these things where people are like, oh, you need to patent the game, you need to do all these different things, and when you get into different aspects, yes, you can copyright the rules and the rule text. That goes so far. You can, if there's images, it's absolutely under those images are under protection. But realistically, this is probably an example of the biggest protection that happens. Is that if I come out and I say, "Hey, I'm making this game," and I show it around for a year in the community or more, and then Joe, publisher, or someone comes out with that game without a signed contract, then there should be an uproar. Because we work on this whole communal aspect where we're trying to make games and provide entertainment, yes, there are going to be similar games. And we've seen similar games to things that we've been publishing even, where we come out straight out to a designer and we say, you know what, I'm not going to look at your pitch because it's too similar to something that we're already doing. Or come out and up front and say, like, we already have that area covered in this aspect. So it's really difficult, and it's a horrible situation. I mean, and I've actually even stepped out of design type pitches where I've been like, look, I actually have a design that I've been personally working on that's something along the lines of some of these mechanics. I don't want any part of this pitch, even though it could be pitched to like Arcane Wonders, and then Brian or John would look at it and review it at that time. There's a lot of there's this courtesy and honor factor in this industry that you don't do that.
I think in a sense, because the community is pretty tight knit, we do self-police in a way, so that if someone was going to try to do something unethical, our community will know about it, and they generally will respond in a favorable way to the offended party. But again, this is the court of public opinion too, and sometimes the facts are not always clear, so we always have to be really careful to jump to conclusions. But it's definitely a thing that makes you go,
It's a bit disheartening. Hopefully this doesn't happen again. In any kind of community, I mean, not just board gaming community, but maybe in the digital community where people are actually manufacturing products or anything. And again, music. I mean, someone put a comment, can't they copyright like they do with music? Just mail the music to yourself. Possibly. It's possible. You mail the rules to yourself and the components, and then you've got it in a sealed envelope with a timed stamp on it.
The king has identified someone in the chat who has made a funny. Kabuki Kid has made a funny.
Oh, no.
She says that Bruno Fedudi walks into the bar and asks the bartender for something dry, and the bartender gave him an old school Euro.
Oh, man.
I'm going to add crickets on to the soundtrack of that.
That was awesome. Are you kidding? That was awesome.
That's racist, that is, against Euros, that is.
Burky's response to that was awesome.
So if you're listening to the audio podcast, go and watch the video and watch his response in his nice new office.
All right, well, I have a thing that's making me go and I thought this was interesting, made me go because my friend James Hudson from Druid City Games has recently just been hired by Skybound Entertainment. Now, James Hudson, he's known for some pretty prolific titles. The Grim Forest, an amazing production, had great success with that. He's also done Guardian's Call, which is one of the games I kickstarted. Really excited to get a hold of that. And he has a new game coming up that's called Conjures Up Sorcerer City. What made me go, about it is that personally I wasn't all that familiar. Maybe it shows a little bit of my naivete or ignorance here, but I'm not that familiar with Skybound Entertainment and the offerings that they have. But supposedly, according to the IVC2 article, that James has been working with them for a time, and he's actually moving his family all the way to California, which is interesting because James, he says he identifies himself as a hillbilly from Alabama. And so he's moving to Los Angeles. It's the Beverly Hillbillies all over again. But they're very excited to have him on board. And I was wondering, Tony, have you had much interaction with James, or do you know much about Skybound Entertainment and what's going on there?
I have limited information about like Skybound Entertainment directly. I know that they have The Walking Dead. I believe it's the graphic novel series that they do. I don't quote me 100% on that, but I know that that's one of their titles. They also do the one that James has actually kind of been working on recently, the Court of the Dead, I think. It's on Kickstarter right now, but he's been...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's been working with them on the Kickstarter management on that side. I know they've also been doing fulfillment of the Grim Forest for him and Skybound. I believe they have another game as well.
Well, it looks like James is actually going to be heading up this whole gaming division side of their IP, so I think it's this company wanting to really get into this side of the hobby. And, you know, from what I've seen and from what I know of James, I think this is a fantastic hire. James is a solid guy, and he does a ton for the community. I love the fact that he does a lot of content to provide information to the community. He's been doing it for years, giving back to the community in that light, plus producing games. So I think that's a really exciting move for them.
Yeah, no, I've been friends with James. We were talking when he was doing Barnyard Roundup back when he just started that, and he's got this attitude and personality that's contagious. So, like, when you see you see him out there, he's out there making moves, doing things. He's really one of those people that it's the story of the dream. You're like, yeah, he's going to pursue it until he gets it, and it's something to aspire to. I mean, I listened to his daily, weekly live streams. He did one this morning just as much as I do with Jamie Stegmeyer's, because they have both personalities that have huge charisma and things to teach you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Derek Funkhauser from Board Game Spotlight, Game Toppers, were actually doing a sponsorship with them, and we actually just got a Game Topper over to James, which is interesting because they work so highly together. And they just do quality work. It's I just think it's pretty exciting to see people, like you say, Tony, live the dream, be able to immerse themselves in the hobby and do something that they just love. Well, with that Badger, right before we're going to go into our game show with our guest, Tony Gullotti, we're going to take our our sponsorship time to go with Tony Gullotti right now, being so we have you here. Normally we would do a little, intro of what's happening with Arcane Wonders, the Dice Tower Essential line of games that have been very prolific and very successful. But I see right behind you, I mean, well done there, brother. You've got Critical Mass right going on behind. Tell us a little bit about the new offerings and what you're excited about at Arcane Wonders.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I jump into Critical Mass, I did want to just bring up Senshi. This is not one of our Dice Tower Essential games, but it is coming out here in June. It was pushed a little bit in the dates, but we wanted to make sure the manufacturing was awesome, and we just got it in, the first production units that are going to be going out to reviewers. But I wanted to just show off, these are the little tokens that we have. They're little blue, yellow, red, and green, and in Senshi, the goal is to get these tokens, and you take them, and you are testing to become the next master of your martial arts school. So, the current master is ailing, passing on the legacy, and you are all competing to determine who has the most balance, the wit, the strength, the agility, honor, to become the next master. So, you have 3 actions: study, train, and test. You study, you take a stack from the center. Training is taking a tile from anywhere. And testing is playing a tile into your scoring. We have a run through of the actual game from Gamma at the Arcane Wonders website. If you go to Arcane Wonders, you click on the little Senshi box, or in our game section, there's a little video that runs through actually a full 2-player game with me and Eric from Board Game Geek. So that's a quick, easy way to see it, but the game is really strategic. So at first you're just like, oh, I'm just doing one of these actions, but it's one of those real quick 15-minute, 20-minute games, similar to like Onitama, And
yeah, it's got a great presence on the table. It looks fantastic.
And we're really happy with how the tiles came out. Basically, it's just one of those games where we see people being able to pull it out pretty much anywhere. I've taken it out, and my wife and I have played it at the bar over cocktails. But then you can also, I have my 8-year-old playing it with us as well. So it plays 2 to 4 players, about 15-20 minutes, and the MSRP is $19.99. So we're really excited. That's coming out in June. That's Senshi. It's going to be seeing a lot of retail store demo tables here in the next month, because we did a presentation at Gamma where we're sending them out in advance to a number of retail stores. If you're a retail store listening in, haven't gotten a demo copy, definitely hit me up, and I'll get your store one.
Awesome.
But that one's the first launch actually this year for Arcane Wonders.
Let me just pause for just a second there too. I think one thing that I've come to know about Arcane Wonders that I think is really neat is they really have developed a presence with the local family game stores, and they've really done a good job developing that type of envoy, if you will, program, or that type of what would you call it? Affiliate program, where you're really supporting the local game stores, and you just do such a fantastic job with that.
We try to do as much as we can for the game stores, because those stores and the people who play games in them and are the big ambassadors running the programs there, those individuals are what really, it's a huge driving factor in our industry, especially when a game is coming into, a new game is coming to market. If we don't have the game on shelves being played by people aren't going to know about it. Right. Especially with the influx of all the new games. So
you don't have the same Kickstarter hype engine.
Yeah, it's just a totally different marketing avenue. Like, it's, instead of bringing it through Kickstarter, where you have a hype engine of direct consumer base right there, we're hitting the ads and everything, getting it in front of as many people as possible, and we also heavily utilize conventions. So our conventions, we're really excited about Origins Game Fair coming up, because we have some good stuff going there.
That's going to be awesome. So tell us a little bit about the Dice Tower Essential line. I know Critical Mass is going to be a big feature coming up at Gen Con.
Critical Mass is actually our Origins Game Fair launch. We're hitting it with a double set launch. We're having 2 box sets. The Patriot versus Iron Curtain set, and then the Raijin versus Archon set. Each box is completely playable by itself. It's a 2-player game where you're controlling mechs in mech-to-mech hardcore blast-em-up combat. In the game, you have a mech board, which is kind of like your cockpit. It shows your mech of choice on the back. On the front, it shows the critical components. It has these little slots where cubes actually are placed into it.
I love those. Those are great production.
And those are actually all the critical component shields. And as you blow away the shields, you take the cubes off of your player board. So it's a visual game where you can see exactly how much life each critical component has on the board. And you just basically are playing cards in succession to damage or defend or upgrade your mech on the fly and continue on. It's about a 30-minute game. If you do get both sets, you can play team game, where you actually have targeting cards that show which mechs you're fighting. But out of one box, it's a 2-player game. That is part of the Dice Tower Essentials line of games. The Dice Tower Essentials line is a line that has been approved and also composed of games that Tom Vassell, and you can see it by this banner flag here on the games, that Tom Vassell has come to us with these games and said, hey, I think these should be in the Dice Tower Essentials line. At that time, we then review them internally, and if it's something that we feel we're a good fit for, then we publish it under that line. And and it's one of the Dice Tower Essentials. The first Dice Tower Essential was Sheriff of Nottingham. Second one was Onitama. And then we also just recently had Viral as the latest one until just recently Critical Mass is coming out. So,
and of course, don't forget Royals.
No, I could not forget Royals.
Or Spoils of War.
Spoils of War was actually not a Dice Tower Essential.
Wasn't it?
Nope, that one was one published by Arcane Wonders. Similar to Senshi. Senshi isn't a Dice Tower Essentials game either. These are games that we picked up. It's not that Tom doesn't like them. It's just that Tom brings us the Dice Tower games. We pick up these on our own. So, Spoils of War was the first of the games outside of our flagship launch of Mage Wars that has been just an Arcane Wonders launch. And Senshi's the second.
Yeah, highly acclaimed.
So, basically, we have a couple Dice Tower games coming out. Critical Mass is the one that we're highlighting and launching at Origins Game Fair. The next one is a game that there isn't a lot out there yet, but that's going to change here very, very shortly. It's called...
Yeah, baby. Tell us.
It's called Good Critters.
Ah.
So, Good Critters is a game that is It was initially launched as Tieftaschen in Germany, Deep Pockets. And it is a game where there is a boss. And we've kind of rethemed it a little bit. It had a political side view on stuff. We kind of took this and you're all critters. And you just completed a heist. And now you're divvying up the goods from the heist. And the big thing is this. The boss is going to be divvying up these goods and giving the cards to each of the players. But each of the crew, all the critters, then have to vote on that distribution of goods. So you could say the boss could be just like, hey Burky, I'm gonna give you 5 treasures, or 5 gems, money to you and money to me, and we're the only ones getting any of this loot. And but you'll be incentivized to vote yes. I'll vote yes, but each of the other players will also at that time probably vote no. So that's kind of one of those things where, but there are other options. You don't have to vote yes or no. You could decide to skim off the top and just take take one of the loot from the top of the deck. So if there are ties, different things happen. But the whole general feel is that you can boot the boss and get a new boss in there if you don't like how things are going.
Yeah, I actually got to play this at Dice Tower Con last year with Tom and 6 other people, and when it was actually the Deep Pockets version. And man, we had a blast. That was an awesome game. Yeah. I mean, it's quick, it's easy to teach. I mean, you bring it to the table in 5-10 minutes. Everybody is playing and immersed in the game, and I think that's one of the things that I like so much about Arcane Wonders, and I honestly feel this way, is the games always just have such great player immersion. I mean, you're always involved together in the social aspect, it feels like to me. And so I love that so much about these type of games. And this was a great game. So we're getting an exclusive scoop here. Is that what happened?
You guys are some of the first ones to see any of these pictures. I put the Dropbox link in there. I think you can open a couple of those up.
You heard it here, folks, at the Kingdom of Babblot.
Yeah, so Good Critters is going to be Gen Con. We're also coming out with the Ruby Combat Ready game. The Kickstarter we helped design for Ruby, for Rooster Teeth, and it's based on the Ruby anime series. And we're really excited about that. That's coming along real well. The manufacturing is all going right now, and we're going to be sharing a lot of that soon through Rooster Teeth. So we're coordinating with them, and they have a whole bunch of updates coming and exciting things overall to show off. And then we do have 4 additional Mage Wars Academy mages coming this year. It's going to be towards the end of the year. They're going to be spaced out a little bit. A couple might end up hitting closer to the beginning of 2019, but those have been in the works. Our playtesting team has finalized it for the most part now, and we're just about ready to roll those out as well. Yeah, so we've got those ones are... Good Critters is the one that hasn't been shown off yet, that we're getting ready to come out with. That's a Dice Tower Essentials game. Critical Mass is launching at Origins. Senshi is launching just before Origins, but right around that time frame. And then... and Ruby as well at the Gen Con period. So that's kind of the next few months. It's been pretty hectic. We've been getting things going. We like putting a lot into each game we put in. So the whole thing is that we want to really make sure that the experience, the quality, the components are all top notch and what our fans want. So
yeah, that's one thing. I know you've had a lot of hand in, creating and helping with the rule books and overall development of the product marketing. But I've also noticed a really significant commitment by Arcane Wonders for the art assets. I know Brian is very, very particular about those, and I know you guys are as well. So that's one thing I love about Arcane Wonders. You guys always do such a fantastic job with that. So, well, with that, let's go to our segment, What Game is Behind the Door?
Welcome, everybody, to What Game is Behind the Door? In this segment, will we put in our special guest to the test by asking them 3 questions. Questions like, what was the last game that they purchased? What is the game they're most excited about getting? And what is their favorite game right now? Burky and Badger will have to figure out what these answers are by asking questions in particular styles. Let's find out if Burky and Badger can get 3 out of 3 or fall flat on the floor like a floundering thingy.
So, Sir Badger, tell us a little bit about our game show, and let's talk about our part 1.
Yeah, so here we are down in the dungeon. We've managed to disconnect the intercom now.
Oh, thank God. That was annoying.
Because there's nothing worse than sitting on the throne and you can hear someone else's voice.
Exactly, sir.
Yes.
Exactly. I must get one installed in my throne room, though.
Yeah, can someone send me some tea, please? I'm out of paper. Anyway, yes. So we've had a very naughty person in our realm.
Yes, very naughty.
Oh yes, he was the head chef at one of the bakeries in the village, and he burnt the king's buns.
Oh no!
So now we
will off with his head.
Yes, our king is generous, aren't you, Burky? Because you're going to give him a test to see if he can...
I am nothing if I am not malevolent.
Malevolent.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So...
Phenomenon.
So, we are going to interrogate him with 3 questions. If he can stump us on all 3, he is an evil genius, and he will stay there for a bit longer. But if we can guess, maybe we let it shorten his sentence. Maybe. So, our first interrogative question to Mr. Tony Gullotti, burner of buns, is, what was the last game that he purchased? And we're going to be asking 5 questions each, and Mr. Gullotti is going to give us a yes-no response. And after we've asked a question each, he's also going to show us a component from this game to try and just help us along, because there is like 60,000 games out there. So
yes. Because I have a sense that Sir Tony Gullotti, he has no need to buy too many games because he's quite immersed in the hobby. But we shall see what's gotten his dander off.
Okay. So, switch off the chat. We're not looking at the chat, so if we don't answer your questions or anything, it's because we are not going to cheat.
I want to, but I shall not. I have minimized the chat, and now I'm looking at just both of you, adorable creatures.
You were going to do you were going into your Trumpy there, weren't you?
Huge. Believe me when I say, this is going to be the most luxuriant question we've ever asked. Believe me when I say it.
Is it got something to do with trains? So, what's your first question?
Okay, is it in, wait for it, a Ticket to Ride sized box?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Okay, so it's in a
standard cool.
Ticket to Ride book.
Or thereabouts, like somewhere in that, right in there.
Pretty standard 12 by 12. Yeah, got it. All right.
Okay, my question is, is this a game that's been released in the past 2 years?
Okay, let me see.
He does not know. That tells you how long it was ago that he bought this game.
No.
It's not recent.
Not in the past 2 years.
That's good. Because then my knowledge is a bit more... Okay, it is now that Tony will now show us a component from the game, and we will describe it to you audio podcast listeners.
Do you want a good one, or...
How long do you want... Okay, it's a sand timer with black ends and white sand. So any ideas, Burky?
I'm gonna have to pass on that one.
Kitchen Rush is recent, so I'm not gonna say Kitchen Rush. I'm gonna say Code Names. No. Okay.
No.
Okay. Question number 2.
Question number 2. Is this a worker placement game?
No.
Okay.
With a sand timer. Okay. Is this game a quiz game? General knowledge quizzy game?
No.
I should have said ambience game. Doesn't matter. Anyway, component number 2. It's
the ball.
Orange ball. About this.
It looks like a little orange ball that almost looks like a basketball. Can you show me the last component again?
It's wood.
Plastic.
It's wood. Wooden.
Oh, it's wood. The sand timer. Okay, sand timer and wooden ball.
You've never seen a sand timer before, old timer, no?
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention, right?
Didn't you used to wear one? We all wear them in our realm here in Babblot.
This is the last game that he bought, and it was in a Ticket to Ride box. Do you have a clue, Barry?
I'm thinking more of like a magic... He bought, not a game, but a magic show box with lots of cards and tricks.
I know what it is. This is I'm going to make a guess. Cool. This is a children's game, and it's Dr. Eureka's thingy by Blue Orange Games.
I don't think it is.
It's not.
What's the name of that game? Dr. Eureka's...
Dr. Eureka. It's just called Dr. Eureka.
I thought it was something... Okay, that's all it is? Well...
That's a good guess. I thought that one was going to come out.
Well, there you go. Okay. So...
Question number 3.
Is this a party game?
No.
That's what the word I was looking for, not quiz. Is this a children's game?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, see, Tony's got a couple kids at home, so I get that.
Okay.
So we're probably talking Haba or something.
Okay. How old are his kids? Do you know?
Yeah, I think he has a boy and a girl, adorable kids. They're probably about 8 and 6, would I say? Am I right about that?
Right in 8 and 5.
8 and 5.
So, yeah. So, component number 3.
It's a card, and it says, orange must not be on top of any spears. Orange must not be underneath any spears. There must be more orange than black, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So it's a card, everybody. It's a card.
With the rules on it. It's a very thick card.
Oh, heavy, thick cardboard. Heavy, thick cardboard.
I'm glad you didn't show us the black balls. That's... There it is.
The black ball.
Component number 1 is a black ball.
You've just been blackballed on Burky and Badger's Board Game Babble Show. Okay. So question number 4, is this made by Haba Games?
No.
Not Haba.
Not Haba.
I'm trying to think of his name. Is this game designed by Roberto
Lafenleur.
Roberto Fraga?
No.
Okay.
That helps.
Yeah. Because he's designed quite a lot of games like that. There's not just like Dr. Eureka, there's Dr. Bacteria or something like that as well. And a few others. Okay. So, component number 4. Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
That looks familiar.
Good grief. So this looks like a heavy, thick cardboard that the little balls set in, it looks like, but that's got kind of like, oh gosh.
Perforated.
It's like cutouts that you can slide around almost. Looks like a sphere, if you will.
So that's a player board.
Good grief, Tony.
You asked what the last one I bought. I bought this literally the last weekend when I was at Tabletop Day.
Oh, really? You just bought it?
Yeah, I went to a game store, Acropolis Games in Michigan, and I picked it up when I was there.
The heck?
Okay.
But it's a couple years old.
More than a couple of years old.
Yeah, I don't have a clue, Barry.
No.
Do you have any ideas?
The chat guessed it.
The chat have guessed it. Okay, we've been beaten by Kabuki.
What did the... So we have one more question. I don't think it's going to do us any good, but...
They're discussing whether or not it's actually a kid's game.
Ooh.
Oh. So you misled us. So there's an asterisk behind this question. Yeah, I just don't have a clue.
Okay.
Is this an American publisher?
No.
Okay. So it's a European publisher. Barry?
Okay. Is this game based on science?
No.
Okay, component number 5. Stumped by a kid's game.
Component number 5. Let's... This isn't going to help you at all.
Just what we need. The cards. Oh, no.
And I can't show you the back.
Okay, no worries. They're cards, and they look like they got balls on them. 2 balls on each card, and they're telling you cannot touch maybe a black ball with a black ball, or touch a blue ball with a blue ball, or a white ball with an orange ball. And there's one which says an orange ball. This is wow. This looks like an interesting kind of game. One of those. We'll have to wait and see. I haven't got a clue.
Here,
Burky's gonna sleep.
you guys are having trouble, so let me...
I don't know what it is.
Let me do this and see if this helps at all.
Yes. Not ingenious. I can't. Yeah.
That's about all the guesses, like, hints I can give on this game, though.
That's not a kid's game.
It's my kid's ball.
Oh, so you know what it is?
Yes. I've seen it. The box is like bluey green, turquoisey, with the balls in the middle, with stacked up as a pyramid. I can't think of the name of the game. So you're gonna have to tell us, Tony.
Yeah,
you're right. It's Dimension.
Dimensions.
Dimension.
It has won the Best Toy Award, as well as Parents' Choice Silver Honor, Parents' Choice Foundation. It's by Cosmos Games. Yeah, that's the last one I bought.
Okay, tell us a little bit about how it plays.
So essentially, you're dealt out cards that tell you the rules that say these balls cannot go in next to these balls. You must use at least 1 or 2 of this color or some such. And you have the sand timer, and basically you flip over the sand timer, and then the players have to, using their balls, create a stack, following all the rules. And so basically you have a thought process, like little puzzly thing going on. My 5-year-old doesn't use the sand timer. That's the only change I had to do to the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you get bonus points and such for using so many balls, or all the balls, something like that. So, yeah. It's a fun little puzzly quick game. You play a number of rounds. That part I'm not exactly sure on because I don't typically cohere to the rules of you have to play X number of rounds because I just let my kids play until they're bored.
Well, all I can say is Dimension all I can say is Dimension kind of made me dementia.
Yeah. I normally play Sheriff and Nottingham until my daughter gets bored. It's not 2 or 3 hours. It's till she gets bored or the deck runs out.
All right, well, let's move on to part number 2 then.
Okay, question number 2 is... what is the game that Tony is most excited about getting? In this round, he's going to be drawing an image for us, and we're going to have to guess it kind of like Pictionary style.
Okay.
Pictionary style drawing.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see how good Tony is at his artistic acumen.
Okay. And, of course, we will describe it for you audio listeners.
Okay. So I just draw a little picture.
Yep, draw a picture. We're going to show it. We'll explain it to the audience. So those of you that are listening to the audio podcast that can be found on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and where all your favorite podcasts can be found at libsyn.com, we will explain the glorious artwork that Sir Tony of Gullotti is diligently trying to replicate. I see his eyes looking at the game box. He's trying to be precise. We know that he will not be.
He's not tracing the cover, is he?
No.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. Cheater, pumpkin eater.
What are you talking about? Oh, my.
I mean, he's got his oil paints out, his watercolors. He's doing the wash right now. Just look at him go. He's got his air paint brush outs now. And now he's like... This is supposed to be a 30-second thing, but we're going to be here 2 hours, folks.
Yeah, we have to edit all this out. Okay, the image is done.
There he is.
And it's up against the camera. Ooh!
Oh, he's got a bird.
He's got a bird. I think I know what this is.
It's sitting on a branch that has little berries, it looks like, with leaves. Those are pitiful berries, but the bird is sitting there, and it's very happy. No, it looks bored. The bird looks bored.
Do these birds look better?
Oh!
Barry's got a picture. What is Barry's picture? So Barry knows what it is.
Yes.
I don't know what it is.
Is it songbirds?
It is songbirds. Yeah.
Way to go, Barry.
Well, he drew the exact same bird from the cover. He was tracing the cover.
I was not tracing the cover. I was looking at the Kickstarter page.
that was awesome. I would have not gotten that.
It was just a recent Kickstarter. Something I think that my wife and I will really enjoy. So,
Is that a 2-player game or?
Yeah, it can be played.
It's 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
I took it on holiday with me, so I could play it with the wife. She didn't understand it. It's such a simple game, and she didn't understand it. I'm like, no.
This one is. That's why I looked at. Like my wife's not a huge gamer, but she plays Battle Line and Lost Cities and and things like that.
Love those games.
Yeah, so she loves Patchwork and like Onitama we play, but. So this looked like one that'd be pretty good.
Yeah, it is good. It is.
She loves Splendor too, so it was kind of one of those things.
My wife loves Splendor, and I thought she'd like this, but she just couldn't get her head around it. I don't know. She was in holiday mode, but yeah, it's a game where you're creating a forest with all the other players with these birds, and each bird has a value 1 to 7. And at the end of the game, once the forest is filled up in this 5x5 grid, you'll go across horizontally and add up the totals of each of the 4 different coloured birds. And whoever's got the highest total will win the token, which is points at the end of each of the rows, horizontally and vertically. And that's it. It's a game that plays within about 5 to 10 minutes. There is a bit of thinking. It feels like a kind of normal kind of card game, made from a classical deck. Really enjoyable. Not too keen on the solo mode myself. But it's definitely fun little filler game.
I'm jealous you have it. Yeah, that's the original, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the original, but again, this is not my copy. This is a friend who lent this to me.
Yeah, your copy looked like it had some Asian writing on it. Is that a Japanese design game?
Yeah, it is. It's, from the same company that I think did Deep Sea Adventure.
Oh, Oink Games?
Oh, no.
No, it's...
Homo Sapien Lab. Or Jolly Thinkers.
Homo Sapien Lab. Okay. Well, awesome. Let's move on to part number 3 of our game show with Toast, Tony Gullotti from Arcane Wonders.
Okay, did anyone on the thingy get it? Birdie Fight. Yes, Kabuki.
Yeah, that's the original title.
Yeah.
Oh, Birdie Flight.
Well done, Kabuki. You're a star. How do you do it every time?
Kabuki's amazing. That gal is amazing.
Okay, question number 3 is, what is Tony's current favourite game? The game that he's always playing recently, the one that he's dreaming about. When he's not dreaming about it, he's waking up to it, sat next to him on his pillow. The game,
drool on it.
The game which is probably not the best, is number 1 game of all time, but it's the one that he's currently loving. So we're going to do this in a different style. We're going to do this. Tony's going to give us 5 one-word clues, and after each clue, we're going to have a chance to guess at what this game is.
All right. Here we go, baby.
So I have to give 5 one-word clues.
Mm-hmm. 5 one-word clues.
One-word clue that doesn't give away the game.
Now give away the game.
Yeah, send it to me.
Geisha.
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 It has to be published,
Geisha.
right?
Yeah. Well, I'll just say Onitama.
No, that would have been too easy.
Yeah, I know. All right. Second word.
Okay.
This is lip-pulling tension.
I'm actually looking up words right now for this game because I'm like...
Oh, he's being very cryptic.
I actually have an idea. It would surprise me if this would be your favorite, though, but...
Music.
Okay, music. Yeah, you had to look up music.
Music. That doesn't quite go with what I was thinking.
No.
That's a really horrible clue, actually.
Oh.
Here, let me redo that clue. Line.
Line?
Line?
Yeah, line.
Like walk the line? I walk the line.
Or like
that?
A line of something.
Line up.
Line of. That's line of suspects. A line.
Lioness.
A line up.
A lion. You're lying.
I'm not lying, and I'm not talking about an animal called a lion either.
Lemons and limes.
Line.
Ooh, it's a drawing game. Ooh, Looney Quest.
No.
All I can think of, and I'm probably wrong on this, so it's just probably stupid, but I'm going to say that game by Bruna Catala that Days of Wonder just came out with. What was it? Yamatai.
No.
Okay. Right, word number 3. Or 3.5.
Word number 3, 3.5. Quick.
Tony's very quick.
It must be it could be a quick playing game. It could be a speed game. Geisha. Oh, I played a game recently with geisha dolls. And you put donuts on their head. What's it called?
It's a quick game. Well, maybe it'd be too easy for him to say Senshi. I'll say it. Senshi.
No. Kabuki Kid has it already.
Oh, right.
She always has it.
Is it
Good
Niwa?
grief.
No.
Oh, because that's got geisha dolls and they go in lines.
Well, there's this,
and it's a very quick playing game.
There's this game. Well, I've already said my guess, so give us one more clue. But I know there's this other game that has an Asian theme, and it's like, what's that game? You know, you put the card up on your head.
Oh yeah.
Let me see.
Okay, go ahead. How much?
Drafting.
Drafting.
Well, I don't know the game, but I know that I have a guess, but I can't remember the name.
No, I'm gonna pass.
Not Hammurabi.
Ham and steak.
Green eggs and ham, Sam I am. I would like to eat them with a fox. I would like to eat them in a box. I can't remember.
No.
It's like that. What was that game that was the Spiel des Jahres that I didn't like? I don't even remember the name of that game right now.
Because you didn't like it.
Just a couple years ago, it was that little card game, and one of them was
The Game.
No, not the game. It's kind of like that. I can't remember it. No, I can't remember the title.
I think you have it.
I think I'm.
And look it up. Don't Google. Don't go to the
I want to
chat.
say it. It's like Hammurabi.
Type Spiel des Jahres winners.
Hammurabi. No.
Hanabi.
Not Hanabi, but it's like that. It's like that. I hate Hanabi, but it's like Hanabi. Hammurabi.
No.
Hamakalabi.
It's an N.
Hamma, what the hell it is?
N. Here's my clue. N.
N.
Not ham. Han.
As in solo.
He's a Hammurabi.
Oh no. Here, does this help? Koji.
Hamakaroji. Hamakoji. Hammer time. It's hammer time, baby. It's hammer time.
It's Hanamakoji.
Oh.
Okay.
It's by Quick Simple Fun Games.
Okay.
You are playing there are 5 geishas in a line, and you have cards that you're putting down that will give you different cards. So, like, basically, you're placing cards according to 4 different actions that are shared between the other players. So one of them might be, like, you put down 2 cards, and your opponent puts down 1 of the cards, and you give them that card. Or 2 and 2 split, and then the people who have the highest number for each geisha scores that geisha's score. And your goal is to get, like, 12 points. I play that all the time.
Okay, what do you like about it?
The games are quick. It's very fast paced, but there's a lot of strategy in your moves. So, like, basically, you have a number of moves that you're really playing off of and kind of going that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a big fan personally of Lost Cities, Battle Line type games where you have a line where you're going head on head against a player, and you're kind of, as long as you have good choice, like decisions that actually make a pretty impactful decision making in the game, like not just like, oh, this is the obvious choice always. I like things where you have a lot of options, you have some thinking to it, and but I do like the line-based games. They're just
yeah, I love Battle Line. That's one of our favorites too. But that looks like it has really great artwork on it.
Yeah, it's an attractive, small, simple game. You can take it anywhere.
Current most favorite. Wow. All right. Well, good job. Tony Gullotti has come into the Council of Babblot and has stomped us.
2-1.
2-1. Despicable. Well, let's move on to our next segment, shall we, Sir Court Jester?
Yes. You're not going to pass a sentence. You're not going to, like, give him crumbs from...
Yeah, give him something.
Okay.
But not much.
Okay. I'll give him some food for thought. And now it's time for the Babble, 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 Burky and Badger's Board Game Babble. So here in Babblot, the babbling and rumor mongering going amongst all of the people in our wonderful kingdom has been about, what would you do if you were a publisher of board games? Because everybody in Babblot loves board games. Everyone talks about board games all the time. And people have been just babbling about what kind of team of designers would they have in-house if they could. And they've also been talking about what is the best way to create a good game. Is it a game that needs an IP, or is it a game that just needs to have very simple mechanics, or is it a game that just needs to be completely out of this world, different, with different themes and different ideas? So we're going to talk a tiny little bit about publishers, and we're going to be asking, what do publishers look for in a game design, before later on going in and listing our top 5 designers we'd love to have working for us. So what do you think publishers... Well, Burky, Burky's gone. He's gone to the throne. So, Tony.
Yes.
As someone that works for a real publisher, what are the kind of things that you look for in a game design when it's pushed under your nose? I mean, obviously, if Tom pushes a game under your nose, you've got no choice.
Wow. No, we have a choice. It's more what do we look for a game? The first thing that we always look for is a designer who follows instructions.
Oh.
It's one of those things where a lot of people reach out to us all the time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
About games. Like, we receive unsolicited requests daily saying, hey, I have this design, here you go. But so basically, when people ask, hey, what's the first step? If we don't know you at all, how do I get Arcane Wonders to consider one of our games? And so we have a form on our website that we direct people to. It says, hey, just fill out the fields concerning your game and send it to us, and then we'll look at it. You'd be surprised at how many people can't do that. So that's a big thing. Like, the things we ask for on there are the requirements for us to consider you.
Okay.
So if we ask for a short video, just with a, hey, this is what it's like 2-minute iPhone video going, hey, give me an idea, a couple pictures of the game, and you don't provide the video or you don't provide a picture of the game prototype or anything like that, your game doesn't even get to the table.
Yeah. Do you believe that the designer's probably worried about copyright, like we were talking earlier on?
I mean, it could be one thing, but the same thing is, like, if you're coming... Like, I don't need to see a full gameplay or anything to know if we're gonna be interested in that type of game.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, having a quick bullet points of, like, hey, here's some stuff, here's a description of how the game plays, short little round of, like, the hook mechanics or something, that gives us enough of a feel that then we're like, oh yeah, absolutely. Hey, we're gonna follow up either at a convention or we're going to follow up in a chat, like on Skype or phone, just basically. Then we can talk more, get the rules, and then if the thing is really what we're kind of like thinking about, then it would be like, yeah, okay, then we go for like a prototype. And that's it's just like going from a cold solicit to I'm not providing you with the information that we request. That's where the biggest hang up always is. It's
okay.
Do you prefer a face-to-face interaction on a presentation, like those, speed dating type of things, or would you prefer to kind of weed them out via electronic digital correspondence?
Typically, so it comes in two different ways. If you just walk up to our booth and say, "Hey, I have this game I want to demo to you," we're probably going to say, "Hey, go fill out the form on the website."
Yeah.
Unless you are,
an established designer,
an established designer that we've worked with you before, but realistically, we typically have those meetings with designers already pre-set up before the conventions.
Right.
Through correspondence. So it's like, okay, I really don't have, running the booth, then the media event things at the conventions, plus designer meetings, plus internal meetings, because we do live in Texas and Indiana, our company. So it's so having the opportunity to be in one place, to have a short team meeting and stuff like that. Our conventions are really booked. I believe I had 63 meetings at the last show I was at, and it was PAX, and it was the first time we ever went there. So when you get to Gen Con and Origins, it's I'm not unfortunately going to be able to probably check out your pitch unless we've set up that time. You did mention the speed dating. It is a great tool. We've picked up games from speed dating events, and we attend speed dating events when it's opportune for us.
And for those of you that don't know what a speed dating event is, basically a designer gets this little 2-minute or 5-minute pitch with designers and publishers. Publishers look at it really quickly, yay or nay, and then they move on to the next, and they hit 10 or 20 people in a very short amount of time.
So basically we have there are a lot of options now that didn't exist a couple years ago for people to get in front of publishers.
Sure.
So it's one of those things where doing a little bit of research on the publisher and seeing, okay, having I have a few games that I feel fit within your portfolio, or a game I really feel fits within your portfolio.
That's such a fantastic point too. If you're a budding designer, do a little research with the company, because you're going to find out if that company, if they're focusing on that type of thing. I've heard Stephen Bonacore and Ignacy Chevicek speak a lot on their podcast on Board Games Insider, and they talk about this particular thing. Do a little research so you're not just spinning your wheels or wasting the publisher's time. And then due diligence to try to set up an appointment so that you're respecting, that publisher's time, because they're getting hit up by everybody, right, Tony?
Oh yeah, we it's daily. It really is daily that we either are being approached by new designers. The funny thing is this: even publish or designers who've only designed a handful of games, 3 to 5 games. They have a little bit of a name. People kind of know who they are. Those publishers or those designers typically aren't cold calling you. Those publishers have established some connections at different companies, and they reach out to those connections. And then what happens a lot, and it's happened a number of times, is I go, you know what, that game isn't my style, but hit up Stephen Bonacore or Uwe Eichart, and I've done that and said, hey, these guys, and I've actually introduced designers to different publishers and said, hey, I think this might be in your wheelhouse if you have some time to give them. If not, here's the info.
Yeah, and I think that goes again to speaks to our community that is very helpful to one another to help bring great products to light.
Oh yeah, and there are a lot of events too, where I got started, because before I worked for Arcane Wonders, I worked briefly for Greenbrier Games, and the way I got into that was through attending Protospiel events
Oh, yeah.
And so I went to a Protospiel in Chelsea, Michigan. Went to that event with my prototype, got a lot of feedback, but I also had both Arcane Wonders and Greenbrier Games play the game there.
Okay.
No, I'm mistaken. Arcane Wonders played the game there. Then I actually met with Greenbrier at the next event, which was either at Origins or Gen Con. And because I hit like 2 or 3 different Protospiel type events with Josh Sprung, and we were pitching the game. And then we did some demo work at the booth at Greenbrier afterwards when they published it, and then I was offered a sales position through doing that with them. So the thing is that our industry is very much you get your foot in the door, and once you have your foot in the door, you start to, I mean, Kevin knows this. Mm-hmm. Both of you guys know this. Once you get your foot in the door, then all of a sudden you know everybody and you're all friends.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's having a great time at these events and everything. But it just takes getting that initial step in. I mean, we were talking about James Hudson earlier. I mean, he's a prime example. He was, a couple of years ago, nobody in the industry knew who he was. But he came in, got to know people, made a wave. If he was a designer, I'm sure he'd be doing successful in that aspect as well. Another one, Daryl Andrews.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Daryl's awesome.
Sagrada was a huge hit now, but like he did a lot of design work for IDW and a number of companies before just this recent Maple Games announcement and everything. So it's like,
right.
It's like, but the thing is he got out there, he did all his stuff, and now he's a big name, and I see that as the thing. Like, figure out kind of what you want as a designer. Like, do you want to be a publisher? Do you want to work with a publisher? Kind of getting a mind frame of what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then just approaching and coming in and being like if you're a very personable, outgoing person, then you jump in and start working demo booths for some companies, try to do some of that stuff, get it out, your feet on the ground. If that's not who you are, and you'd rather, Protospiels are great events because they're ones that you're talking a small convention size of designers who are all there to kind of play and help you with games. So it just get some time, do that, get to know some people. They have most cities now have Facebook groups or game design groups. That wasn't a thing a couple of years ago. So
that's a good point.
So like there are meetup groups that come together and you can get critiqued.
Just pitch designs. Yeah, I think that's a really great point that you're talking about. It's a little off topic, but in a sense it isn't. But getting involved and immersed in the community is really key. I know with our involvement with podcasting, board game theater, interacting with fans at the shows with Arcane Wonders, Sheriff of Nottingham, things of that allowed me exposure to a lot of people where I was able to start developing relationships and friendships and trust and all of those things. And that helped me immensely in starting Game Toppers. So it's the same concept with a designer. Make yourself available, make yourself helpful to the community. Like you're not just out there trying to get something, but try to bring something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the thing is this, also be aware that there are publishers that are going to be like totally hands-on. You want a demo in our booth, you want to do these things, we sign your game, things are going great, let's really hammer all these things. And then there are other publishers that might sign your game and then you don't hear from them for 6 months.
Yeah.
Until you start hearing like, okay, now it's on the topic of Hot Burner. Let's look at these things. It's a matter of like, I have designs signed that probably aren't coming out until 2020, 2021.
Long way away. So, if a design was to come under your nose and it kind of corresponded with a universe that you've already created, maybe the Sheriff of Nottingham universe, would it be something that would jump to the top because it would probably be cheaper because you're maybe reusing the same artwork from that universe already? Again, like Mage Wars, if a game come out, if a design slid on the table and you thought, you know what, this would be great with the Mage Wars characters put in those places.
Yeah, we've actually had some of that discussion with different designs and such as well. So, the big thing is, the reason why I say we have games signed that might not hit until 2020, 2021 is because things jump to the top. Because it might have been signed for a period of time, and then all of a sudden, the thing that we believe is going to be the next new hotness that pushes our company to another level, or performs in a certain fashion, or we just need a price point.
Yeah,
that's a weird one. A lot of people don't talk about is if I have $5 $50 games signed, I'm not going to push two of them at the same time. I mean, I'm going to try to complement it with a smaller title for that launch.
Yeah, so timing is everything in the marketplace. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you don't want to cannibalize your own sales with your own customer base either. And it becomes, and that's more my side with the sales point of it all, but there are a lot of reasons why a game schedule can be pushed around with.
Yeah.
That's going a little off topic though.
But how do you feel about designing a game then, and you have a particular IP in mind, so to speak, but the cost of acquiring the IP might not be doable, or perhaps it's worth investigating. How do you analyze that, and then decide whether or not it has to be rethemed? I think about the one particular game that came out by GMT that was the racing game, and gosh, I just almost lost the name. Thunder
Alley.
Yeah, Thunder Alley. Thank you. Sorry. And it's a fantastic racing game that absolutely could be NASCAR themed, but it is not. And I'm sure it had to do with licensing. But tell me your thoughts about that. If you've got a design or looking at something, or you've worked with Ruby, of course.
Yeah. So we don't have a huge amount of experience with IPs that haven't been internally based. Just recently, like, we made Mage Wars.
Right.
And the Mage Wars, we believe, it's an IP now. It has its own fan base, everything, but we created that. Sheriff of Nottingham was a more interesting situation, but it wasn't like an IP that we went and acquired the Sheriff of Nottingham IP. Like, I know during the Sheriff of Nottingham promotion initially, I believe we even went to Nottingham and
look for the sheriff,
like, and the sheriff, and had a meeting. I have pictures with the sheriff, the current sheriff.
I remember the good sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah, so we approached and did some fun stuff there, but that wasn't really IP work. That was just extra cool stuff that we were trying to get to happen. But then recently with Ruby and with Rooster Teeth, what happened was they approached us to design a game based on their IP. So that was a little bit different, experience, because we researched and watched all the seasons and kind of figured out what is Ruby, how is this fan base, how can we immerse ourselves into it, and then basically created a co-op experience that went along with their IP. There's the other side too, where you go to like licensing expo in Las Vegas and such, and you're seeking out IPs to sign to then apply to your games. That we haven't done that a lot, or really we're looking at IPs more.
What kind of numbers, Tony? I don't know if you know this or not. I don't. But, obviously a Marvel IP is a huge thing, or anything Disney, Star Wars, blah, blah, blah. But you take IPs that maybe are slightly lesser, like Battlestar Galactica, maybe, or
lesser, you say?
Maybe that's still
Battlestar Galactica. Like what about Star Trek?
That's still significant IP, but
yeah,
Star Trek.
Yeah, it's because it's lesser than Star Trek. That's all.
It's hard to delineate. I don't know. Firefly has a big following too, but
Andromeda,
it's not quite as. There you go. What kind of numbers are you talking that you have to come up with to acquire these type of IPs?
So I can't talk specifics on things, but typically there's a percentage, like a royalty, similar to what a designer is paid on sales. So, depending on the size of the IP, there might be an upfront cost. Like, you could say it's like a signing bonus, but typically these numbers are large, depending on the IP. I've heard of 5-figure upfront.
I can say that for Batman Gotham City Chronicles, Frederick Henry, he said that they had to pay the license, which was $400,000 to do Batman. And then they still have, I think it's around 12 to 14% of the sale for each game, base game.
Yeah,
wow,
that's a big one. That's an expensive upfront cost. I've heard of ones that are similar but different in that I don't have to pay the upfront cost, but it's a guaranteed amount that they are going to be paid within like 1 year or something. So that if royalties actually pay it all, then great. But if not, you still owe us X.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but really, where it comes in here is the size of the IP.
Right.
That changes the whole discussion. It might be something like just a royalty payment or something for some smaller things, but really, it can be significant.
Kabuki Kid said, "I doubt many designers design an IP without already having that IP in their lap, so to speak."
That's kind of interesting because I know some designers who have approached IPs directly, and they're actually pitching a game with the author, in this case's blessing, to publishers.
Well, I know, like Richard Lanius, he did that Planet of the Apes game with IDW, so they put that IP on it. Was that game originally designed to be a Planet of the Apes IP game, or I don't know the backstory.
I'm not sure on that one.
Can I ask? Is it best to have designers approach you and you publish the game with them, or is it best to have an in-house designer who's always there to, work on any games that they're designing, plus help out on these one-shot games which come across your desk?
Okay, that's a loaded question. So
I'll unload it.
So what do you mean by best?
Do you have in-house designers?
Yes, our owner has designed games.
Oh yeah,
and I've designed games. So the thing is, but do I do a design? I don't actually do any design function within Arcane Wonders, except for a game that's coming out next year that I was a designer of. So that's the thing. There's a point where having an in-house I believe in-house designers are awesome when it comes to developing too.
Yeah.
And having kind of a collaboration with the development of a game.
Sergio is kind of that way with Sheriff of Nottingham, right? I mean, he's a designer, but he also helped kind of develop some of the
Sergio was a huge part of the expansion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sergio's been great.
With the Merry Men expansion.
Yeah, with the Merry Men expansion for Sheriff and Sheriff of Nottingham. I mean, we did some development on that work as well. Brian was involved in it. But the big thing is that making sure that you have understanding going into it. So if you're talking to a designer, make it like from my point of view, I want to make it clear that, look, we really love this, we're going to be developing it, and the game will probably change a bit in this process, and seeing if we're a good match and that will work. Because that's all that, like, yes, we have designers on staff. We actually had an employee for a period that was a designer. Their whole job, Aaron Brosman, was to do Mage Wars. And so, yeah, we have had and do have people who design on staff. John actually worked with Onitama's upcoming expansion, the Wind Spirit, too. So, like, we dabble a little bit.
Yeah. So it's a bonus, a benefit to have in-house designers, as I said, to help out with other projects that come along, and plus present their designs as well. Okay.
But then on an alternate page, like Stephen Bonacore doesn't.
No.
Like, he signs games from a multitude of different designers. Yeah. So everyone kind of does their own thing. It's one of those...
He always makes an offer that you can't refuse, though. That's the thing.
Well, I think we're going to move on to our top 5 of our design dream team. But Kabuki Kid does have a question for Tony and says, what was Tony's favorite game as a kid? And maybe what was the game that got him into the modern hobby?
Okay, that's really easy for me. So it was Key to the Kingdom.
Ah.
The game that had the board that folds out once you jump into the portals, and then it folds back in, and if it folds back in, it can crush players and stuff. It's a die roll to move type game that it's probably the nostalgia of it is a lot better than the gameplay now that when I look at it. But got me kind of into it. And then Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah.
So basically right around that phase, I had a group that came to my house and we played D&D in my basement. And but Key to the Kingdom started it. It was the board game that I had when I was a kid, and then with the fantasy
that was
theme,
like 6 years ago or something like that, Tony.
Yeah, 6 years, 7 maybe. No. Yeah, and then D&D with my group in the basement, totally running 2nd edition. Advanced Dungeons & Dragons modules and making up as much crap as we could on the go because we had no idea what we were doing, but we had a great time. Yeah.
Okay, so we're now going to reel off our top 5 designers that we'd love to work for our own imaginary production companies. Would you call it a production company?
Woohoo!
Games edition. It's an edition here in France. So, So we've all made lists, hopefully, of designers that we'd like to have working with us. And we're going to kick off with number 5. Again, these are for me, these designers are people that have great ideas, who have always something original, which kind of pops, and just make great games for me. Number 5. My number 5 is Elad Goldstein, the owner of Golden Egg Games, which unfortunately hasn't had a good reputation, but his games I've played, and they have such an imagination, and they have mechanisms which are really solid, thematic, but also imaginative and different to everything else that I've played. And I really admire his style of game design. From everything from Glory to Power or something like that. The dice mechanic is a simple mechanic, but it's so complex on how the many mechanisms that you can use to put the dice in orders to buy the cards that you need to get to the bits and bobs. I love it. It's a great game. It's his Airlines game is really good, and Prime Time, which came out the same year as Gilhover's the networks, I deem far superior to the networks due to the fact that it does actually feel like you are a producer of a television channel. You have, these characteristic statistics of players, not players, but the viewers. You have like the female audience, the male audience, the teenage audience, the elder audience, and you've got to try and get these demographics into your programs to make your programs pop. Great designer. Unfortunately, things have not been going well for him, but hopefully in the future we will see more great designs from him. And that's my number 5, Elad Goldstein.
All right, well, number 5 for me is a designer that not only designs games, but he publishes and he does the artwork. And this is an incredibly unique skill set to be able to manage those kind of skills and do them as well as he has done. So I've met this individual before at some conventions, and I have a great admiration for him. I think it'd be a thrill to work with him on my design team. And that name is Ryan Lockett of Red Raven Games. Ryan has just done some amazing artwork. He's got a really unique art style. I love some of his games. City of Iron is one of my favorite ones. I love Empires of the Void, which is TI3 Light, if you will. He has the Near and Far and several other games that he's produced. But super nice fellow, very soft-spoken, but incredibly talented, very bright, and I would love to have him on my design team. So Ryan Lockett of Red Raven Games.
Okay, so my number 5 is also a designer publisher who I have learned a lot from, had some great conversations, and I can't pronounce his last name, but everybody knows
Chevicek.
So, Chevicek, yeah. And a Portal game. So basically, I've really I've read his books. I've just really loved his whole approach into design, and especially into design playtesting. How he keys in on key things that they're looking for in each game during each test. I just think the entire process of making a game with him would be
absolutely. He's on my honorable mention list. Ignacy's a fantastic individual and just does a great job with Portal games.
Number 4.
My number 4 is my good kissing friend Frédéric Henry, who has designed Timeline, Conan, Batman, the Builders, the Inventors, and Asteroids. His games are really captivating and interesting, and the fact that he can transform the game into something else is always a bonus. So that's something that I want in a game company is, you've got this one idea, let's do it, publish it like this, and then let's expand it and do another version of the game, but it does this, like Timeline, there's many different versions of Timeline, and then there was the Timeline Challenge, where you could combine your copies of Timeline and play a slightly different game, but with Timeline. I'm sure that's a benefit to any company if you can, produce one game, but then produce many other games off of that one game, like the Builders, many versions of the game. So, he's a great designer. He's very open to ideas, and I've enjoyed everything that he's produced so far. So that would be my number 4, Frédéric Henry.
Number 4. This is going to sound a little bit self-serving because I have a dear friendship with this man, but the publisher that I'm going to call out here is Brian Pope from Arcane Wonders. Designer Brian Pope, and he's a publisher and a designer, a businessman, entrepreneur. But the reason I'm picking Brian is because I saw the work that he's done with Mage Wars and the care and the attention to detail that he does, right down to the littlest things like the art direction and those kind of things. But he's also super concerned that the mechanics work well and that it's a great game. That's always his emphasis. but he's just a ton of fun to be around. And so Brian and I have developed a friendship. So I would love to design a game with Brian, because I could see us working together from a publishing, but also from a design standpoint. And he's well versed at gaming. He really understands that. So I know it sounds a little self-serving, but it's someone I know that I feel like I could really work with well. So that would be someone who would be my dream team number 4, Brian Pope, Arcane Wonders.
So, I'm going to bring in a relatively newer designer right in this one. Erica Hayes Boyores. I butchered last name, so that's. So Erica did Roar, King of the Pride, for IDW, and also Ink Monsters recently. It's another one of those situations where I have met Erica at a number of conventions, and she has really impressed me with like her knowledge of design in this. She's part of the Canadian Designers Guild, I believe. And basically, it's just been I'm hoping to be able to work with her in the future, because her designs so far that she's pitched have been really interesting. It's just not been our fit.
Fantastic.
Number 3.
Okay, my number 3. He says, making a quick decision. I've got 2 names here. I'm going to go with a new up-and-coming designer who has impressed me immensely, and I'm probably going to butcher his name. His name is Jamel Hash, who designed Photosynthesis and Dragon Castle. I was going to say Lorenzo Silva, because they do work together, and they've got a lot of new games coming up, but Jamel has impressed me immensely with his abstract games with really deep theme, and luckily he's got these production companies behind him to get these great production value games out there. I think he is someone to watch. He's got a game coming from Cool Mini or Not very, very soon, which sounds amazing. It's a theme which you've never seen in a board game before. I promise you that. But yeah, my number 3 is Jamel Hatch.
My number 3 is a very prolific designer who I've had the opportunity to interview at Gen Con and some other conventions. Very prolific, amazing titles. You'll probably know it when I start to mention some of these titles. But designed, sometimes he's co-designed there a little bit with Abyss, 5 Tribes, Shadows over Camelot, Cleopatra, Dice Town, King Domino, Cyclades, 7 Wonders. I think that he's one of my favorite designers. I love the style of gameplay. It's not super heavy, but very thoughtful. He's very, he's a Frenchman.
Are we? Yes, you are.
But it's Bruno Catala. I love Bruno Catala. I think it would just be a thrill to work with him.
And he's a good guitar player as well.
Okay, so I actually have a kind of a trend going here on this one. This is also a publisher designer who I follow all of their video vlogs, all their blog posts, the immense amount of information he feeds into the Kickstarting channel, as well as board game channel in general. It would be Jamie Stegmaier of Scythe, Viviculture, Tuscany. Basically, one of the big reasons, one, because I think I'd learn a ton from the experience, but another of it is that he makes games that are completely different from what I make. His are very big, very complex with lots of systems. A lot of the games that I've created and worked on have centered around one core system or mechanic, and I think I think there would be a way to mesh the bringing in different interesting core mechanics with a bigger worldview type thing that he always has. So I don't know. I think it would be a good experience.
Yeah. Oh, good choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good choice.
He's on my honorable mention as well. Fantastic.
honourable mention. Guess what?
What?
He's my number 2.
Number 2.
Jamie Stegmaier. He impressed me immensely with Viticulture, an amazing game with so many little dynamics. As you said, Tony, it's not just one core mechanic, but there are several like little things going on around it, and they can be deeper, and they can make them deeper, and he does make them deeper. Even with Scythe, it's a simple system, but there's so much going on. It's like, wow, this is really engrossing. I think he would make a brilliant head, probably team designer. He's a publisher anyway, so what am I saying? I'm stating the obvious. Yeah, Jamie Stegmaier, I would definitely love. He's my number 2.
Number 2, yeah, he's fantastic. Well, my number 2, this is, again, a very prolific designer, but he's the designer of my favorite game of all time. Many of you know that. My favorite game is Blood Rage. And, of course, I'm talking about Eric Lang, who now works with Cool Mini or Not, but he's designed, the others, The Godfather, Dice Masters, many other games. I think he's an incredibly funny fellow. I think his type of mechanics really mesh with my style of gameplay. So if I were designing a game, I would like to learn and incorporate some of those processes that he uses to develop those mechanics. He tends to like a lot of worker placement, which are some of my favorite type of mechanics. A little bit of area control, another favorite mechanic for me. So Eric Lang, number 2 for Burky.
Okay, so number 2. This is a designer that works for Loan Shark Games. Been real big with Apocrypha. I think I pronounced Apocrypha recently, and also has worked on the Pathfinder adventure card game. She started off doing steampunk live-action role-playing game as well. I didn't know that, but I just saw that on her BGG profile. This is Liz Spain. So the big thing that I've noticed with Liz is that she creates a world with her designs, and it's very thematic, very immersive, and it's just one of those designers that I just really feel that it would be a great experience to work with.
Yeah, that's awesome. What games has she designed?
Apocrypha, and then she's worked on the Pathfinder adventure card game, and she's worked on also the Betrayal on the House of the Hill Widow's Walk expansion, and Incredible Expeditions, 1001 Tales of Betrayal mini expansion. And she's been part of Loan Shark Games. So
Number 1.
My number 1 designer that I'd definitely want in my board game production company is a guy that likes making farming games.
I know.
Yeah. It's Uwe Rosenberg.
Uwe.
I don't know. My board game company, the motto would be farming. And every game that I produce would be a farming game of some sort where you're shipping goods, growing stuff. He has produced so many farming games, which is so great. I mean, not only those, but he has Cottage Garden, which is I love. It's just so zen and pleasing, planting your little plots of land. And of course, I love the original Agricola. I haven't played Caverna, but Agricola is just one of those groundbreaking games which I just adore to bits, and he would be my head honcho board game designer in my company, making farming games like those other farming games that he makes, like Feast for Odin. And
love that.
That's not a farming game.
He's absolutely one of my favorite designers too. Caverna and Agricola, Feast for Odin. I mean,
Fields of
Arla. Yeah, he's amazing. Love him. Well, my number 1, this is probably going to surprise you guys, because last week we talked about some things in our last episode, and Barry brought out something about his favorite type of. Oh gosh, I just lost it. The
Pizza.
Yeah, that's what it was. Pepperoni pizza with anchovies.
Deodorant.
Yeah, you did.
My favorite deodorant. My favorite.
Old Spice is what you like.
My favorite guitar string.
Yeah, is an E flat, E major flat minor.
Yeah, I prefer that better than the G string.
Yeah,
the G string is just
G.
Yeah.
No. So anyway, I think what he's noted for his card games, and Barry made a comment about, his most innovative little mini game, and he said a deck of cards. And I think what kind of made me think about that a little bit is all the fun that I've had playing card games over the years, cribbage. We played the mess out of cribbage and gin rummy and poker and different things. Well, this designer is noted for his card games. And I love the mechanics he brings to the game. He's not a super big theme guy or anything like that, but he brings a knowledge. He's one of my favorite people in the industry, and I would love to work with him. This guy has designed the games like the Mystery Rummy series games. He designed the game Wyverna, and my all-time favorite two-player game of all time, Baseball Highlights 2045, and it's none other than Mike Fitzgerald.
The one, the only.
The legend, Mike Fitzgerald.
The living legend.
The living legend. Love Mike, and I think it would just be fun working with him and getting in his head on how he designed Diamonds also with Stronghold Games. And I mean, I just love Mike. I think he's brilliant.
Okay, so I took this as a little bit different approach, but I love abstract games. So abstracts are, depending on the abstract, they can be themed very well, and actually it becomes more than an abstract. But it all comes down to the math and the crunch of the balance of the game. So there's a designer, and I've met him, like, kind of theme, but Gordon Hamilton, he designed Santorini. Yeah. He's been a professor for years. He's been huge into math and science, and he presented a number of games to me at a different show, and I was just blown away because so many of them were things that were just so different than what was on the market, that for different educational purposes or such, like different markets than the gaming market. And I was like struggling to figure out how to actually bring some of these really cool concepts into a game that would appeal more widespread in our segment of the marketplace. And unfortunately, the one that I really liked that I wanted to bring on, he said was signed to someone else. So that one was where I was like, oh man, they got it. But his mathematical approach to game design and his use of space is something that I really enjoy. So if I were to pick someone that I was like, okay, I have to work with this person sometime or someday, it'd be
that's
cool.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good perspective. Well, we're kind of running late, so we're going to wrap this baby up, but we want to give a big shout-out to our sponsors. We've got Uwe Eichert at Academy Games. Check them out at academygames.com, and we have Tony Gullotti here, Sales Director of Arcane Wonders, and you can check out their new Dice Tower Essential Games, Critical Mass, also Senshi, at arcanewonders.com. Barry, do you want to let us know where people can get a hold of you at?
You can find Burky and Badger on my BoardGamesEverybodyShould.com channel, as well as you can find it on Burky's BoardGameTheatre.com channel, where you will find all our videos and all our audio podcasts. You can get the audio podcast from all your usual kind of podcast downloadable stuff, as well as go to Libsyn, where we got our home page there, Burky and Badger. Go and check out everything that we've been up to, everything we've been up go and check out everything that we have been doing and see who's coming soon on our Board Game Geek Guild 2248. We will post there the next show.
We're going to have a poll up, right, Barry? You'll put a poll for...
Oh, we're going to put a poll up, yes. I don't have to paint it red and white, or if it just make
like
it
a barbershop poll. Do one of those candy cane polls.
Yeah, I'll do one of those polls. I'll do a poll about this show, find out what your favourite designers are. Who would you have working for you? Who is your definite number one? Oh, gosh.
And tell us, Tony, while we still have you, where people can get a hold of you and the upcoming shows that you're going to be at.
Okay, so the next consumer shows that I'm going to be at are Origins Game Fair, then the Dice Tower Con, and Gen Con. So those are the next 3. After that, I know we're going to be doing PAX Unplugged as well. So we'll be at there, but I'm sure we'll have a couple shows before then.
Just getting ready to go to Geek Way of the West here next week, so that's going to be a fun one too. Well, very good. Thank you so much, Tony, for joining us. Appreciate all your insight into the industry and your friendship. It's just been a pleasure getting to know you and work alongside you, so thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, no, it's been a blast. I had a lot of fun. Anytime, guys.
And thank you to all our live listeners. That includes you, Ben, Kabuki, Tony. What are you doing there? Dan Hughes, Rick Orfloff, and everyone else that I've forgotten to mention. So thank you anyway. We'll see you next time. As I said, we'll post something on Board Game Geek a couple of days before we go live. And of course, listen out for the not the live, but the audio edited 20-minute version of this podcast where I cut everything that Burky says.
That makes it better, trust me.
And we just leave the intercom on so you can hear Mr. Gullotti, because
the smooth, soulful sounds of Tony Gullotti. Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Send us away, Barry.
Thank you again for listening to Burky and Badger's Board Game Babble. This show was written, produced and performed by Kevin Burkhardt-Smyer and Barry Doublet. As was the music too, with a little help from the Balance of Power. Although the Good, the Bad and the Ugly theme was composed by Ennio Morricone, and background effects were supplied by Sirenscape. Enhance your gaming at Sirenscape.com. Join us next time where we might have a special guest or we may review a game. But either way, there'll be more craziness and more babbling.
We're so glad we had this time together. Now it's time to go. It won't be long until we have another show. So keep us in mind, get online. Burky and Badger will be back in no time.